between the hardware and the user, right? The user may be using the keyboard, which is an input output device. The user may be using a printer, the monitor, a mouse, keyboard. The user may be copying files from one drive to another drive. But all these activities are coordinated between the operating system. And all these devices are connected through a common bus. You will see the CPU is there. All these devices are connected through a common bus, whether it is the memory, whether it is the hard disk, E drive, D drive, flash drive, pen drive, whether it is the input output devices like the mouse, keyboard, printer, the monitor. All of these are connected through a common wire or a common bus. It is like akin to, our in our human body there are arteries and veins. So arteries carry blood from the heart to the to the various parts of the human body, and the veins carry blood back from these various parts of the body back to the heart. So it's something like that. And the heart, you can say, is the processor. Here the processor is the heart of the computer. It does all the computation. Only if the processor does something, some activity will happen. It has to work that way. Then I also told you that for all these devices there is a controller. For the disk device there is a controller with a buffer. The USB devices, the mouse, the keyboard, there is a controller there with a buffer. And for the monitor there is an adapter with a buffer. So all these instructions temporarily reside in the buffer and then they are executed. So this is the general structure of the computer that I explained. Now I also explained that the entire operating system works on interrupt. Everything happens through interrupt. So in 1 second there are millions and millions of interrupts that are happening. A processor has to take care of the disk. You are copying a file, you are entering the keyboard, so you are banging the keyboard, something is happening here. You are on the background, you are copying a file from C drive to E drive, that is also happening. All these things have to be done by the processor. The processor has to take action for each of these activities. But how does it do? How can it coordinate so many activities, hundreds of activities happening in parallel, right? Meanwhile, you also give a print command. So you are copying a file, you are typing in the keyboard, you are giving a print command. All these have to happen. So there is a elaborate system of interrupt that is happening. And this interrupt handling is done by the operating system. So we can actually say there are two modes for the computer. There is a user mode and a kernel mode. When the user mode is happening, the user has control. And where the user has control in the sense that you're giving some command or you're typing instruction, the user is doing something and the control is with the user. Then immediately after that, it goes to the operating system. The control is taken by the operating system. That is known as the kernel mode. So every second, the computer is toggling or moving back and forth several times in a minute, hundreds of times in a single minute between the operating system, kernel mode, and the user mode. So that is the elaborate system by which this coordination, allocation of resources, all these happen, in the all these things happen in the between in the computer. So the operating system is in kernel mode. The operating system is in kernel mode, or the computer is in what is that? Is in kernel mode. Operating system has control, or the user has control. User is typing something, it is user mode. As soon as he completes timing, it becomes into kernel mode. Every second it is toggling 100 times. I also told you that the entire system is through a process of interrupt. You want to enter something, that time if the CPU might be executing something else, right? Now you you bang the keyboard. That means the input output device, there is an interrupt generated by the operating system, the computer moves from user to kernel mode, and then that input output processing happens. Once that is over, the interrupt closes, and then again you have control of the computer, something like that. So you have to understand that it is always toggling between user is typing something, immediately operating system takes command and it goes to kernel mode, and then the CPU is blocked. So CPU was doing something, right? CPU was doing something, and immediately what has happened is you banged a keyboard, the input output device got fired, an interrupt was raised by the operating system. It moved from user to kernel mode. You banged the keyboard, that some instruction you have given. So please understand, the CPU has stopped what it was doing earlier, and it is now doing your thing. Once it is over, there is an interrupt vector which will give the address of the last thing that the CPU was doing, and then the CPU, after it has addressed your keyboard banging, it goes to the other thing. So this is exactly what happens through the entire system with respect to the operating system. This I have already explained. Now I also told you about the multiprocessor systems. Multiprocessor means there are many processors, all of them work in parallel or in collaboration. It depends. There are various ways of multiprocessing. You can work collaboratively, you can work in parallel. All these are possible. That we will learn it in probably in the next semester in terms of parallel and distributed computing. But please understand that you can have a multiprocessor system. Several processors can be working together, and they can all share a common memory. You can have a dual core. Dual core means within a single processor, there are two cores. Each core acts as if it is a processor, mini processor. So when you say it's a dual core design, it means that there are two processors in that. That is the meaning of this dual core. Then you can have a cluster. In a cluster is a very interesting thing. All in clusters, computers that are lying anywhere in the world, right? Anywhere in the world, computers that are lying can be connected to form a cluster. There are some algorithms, protocols that make the cluster where all the computers, they may have different types of hardware, software, but through some common middleware, they are all connected to a cluster, and they can all process continuously. They can process in such a way that all of them can do all the applications, all of them can divide the applications, all of them can work in a master-slave relationship. So many possibilities are there, and this is the key towards what is known as high performance computing. Now, I don't know if you have seen, many of the movies, they show on something called SETI. SETI is a search for extraterrestrial intelligence. It's I think it's a UN mandate is there, but it's primarily based in US. So what SETI does is, SETI has a mega cluster. Many computers across the world can be part of that cluster. Very, very simple. You need to install some middleware. You need to have some compatibility, some protocols, and then voila, you are connected to that network. And I'll tell you the logic behind it, right? See, I am now staying in the campus. Now, if you see the computers in the lab, even when the students are there, between 9 to 7 or 9 to 8, the computers are used. But the computers are completely idle from night 8 o'clock to morning, say 9 o'clock. Nobody is coming to the lab. The lab is closed. So if you are able to use these computers, plug them to a cluster, doesn't it make sense? So such initiatives are also there, where you can form clusters. But again, all these will require complicated distributed and network operating system. See, there are two processors, they share the memory. You need an operating system that works in a distributed fashion. You need an operating system that works in a network. All these things are very important. Now, there is also two types of clustering. Clustering, asymmetric clustering means one machine is in standby mode. That means only one is working if the other is idle. But when the first system fails, the other one will become a standby. But that is very unpopular, asymmetric clustering. Mostly it is symmetric clustering, where all of them are working together. See, all these computers are working together. They divide the activities among them. They have some sort of protocol by which they talk to each other, they coordinate, they collaborate, and so on. But you have to also understand, see, suppose something takes 10 minutes to do. One computer will take 10 minutes to do something. If you add 3 computers in a cluster, it will not be divided by 3. Please understand that. It is not 10 divided by 3. That is not going to happen. Maybe you may be able to do what one computer did in 10 minutes in a cluster of 3. You may be able to do it in 7 or 6 or 7 minutes or 8 minutes. That's quite possible. But there is definitely an advantage in having clusters. Now, finally, yeah, this is what I've been telling you. An operating system is interrupt driven. The interrupts either comes through the device controller, that is the I am banging the keyboard. The keyboard gives a key, that is a hardware interrupt, through the device controller of the USB device controller. Or it can be a software interrupt. A software interrupt is basically like an error. You are writing a program and the program, it comes in such a way that there is a software error, there is a divide by 0. All of us know that divide by 0 is infinity. There is no number for that. So if such things come into a computer program, or you get into an infinite loop where you get into some sort of exception or trap, then also an interrupt will happen. You have seen, right? The computer will hang. That is an interrupt. That is a software interrupt. But when you are clicking something, that is a hardware interrupt. When you are copying a file, hardware interrupt. When you are giving a print command, hardware interrupt. Because that interrupt happens through that device. This is what I've been telling you. Everything is either in user mode or kernel mode. In 1 minute, hundreds of times the process moves from user mode to kernel mode. User mode means you are doing some user process. Then the operating system takes control. It moves on to the kernel mode. How does it know? There is something called a mode bit. When the mode bit is 1, it means that it is in user mode. When the mode bit is 0, you know that it is in kernel mode. And this happens thousands of times in a minute, right? Finally, in the operating system, there is something called batch processing and time sharing. Batch processing is also known as multi-programming. Time sharing is also known as multitasking. So some operating systems work on a batch processing concept or a multi-programming concept. Some operating system work, most operating systems work on a time sharing or a multitasking mode. Batch processing is fairly straightforward, right? It's fairly straightforward that CPU and input devices use in batches. So now, if the printer is using, then only the printer activity will happen. If the keyboard is working, only the keyboard activity will happen. No other activity is happening in the background. It is taken in batches. So if you are doing a print command, you give the print command, the printing will happen, right? But no other thing is happening in the background. The CPU is completely dedicated by the operating system for doing the printing. Once the printing is over, some sort of queue is there, like this. Job 1 is printing. Job 2 is copying a file from C drive to E drive. So then printing stops, then the next job happens. Nothing else will be happening. The CPU will be 100% focused only onto the copying of files from C drive to D drive. This is multi-programming or batch processing or batch system. And how do you do it? Through a job scheduling. We will learn job scheduling in detail later. Now there is something called multitasking or time sharing. Multitasking and time sharing means the CPU is switching job very frequently. And everybody feels that everybody is getting the CPU. Now almost all operating systems work on this concept of multitasking or time sharing. Almost everybody. So you are I'm just giving you the same example. You are printing, you have given a print command, you are copying a file from C drive to D drive, you have also banged the keyboard. All three things are happening. But in a multitasking or a time sharing system, the CPU is switching between all the three jobs. For little time it is doing the printing. For little time it is taking care of your keyboard banging. For little time it is taking care of your copying of file from C drive to D drive. And the response is also instantaneous. And you feel that all the three things are happening at the same time. But actually the CPU is toggling or switching between one sub-process to the other sub-process. We will learn this in detail during process synchronization, but I'm just trying to tell you. So printing is going on. Printing is process 1. Copying a file from C drive to E drive is process 2. And finally, the the typing the keyboard, pressing some key in the keyboard is process 3. So process 1, 2, 3, they are divided into sub processes, and the CPU is continuously toggling between the three processes through the sub processes. And sometimes it will do some swapping that we'll learn later. Don't confuse now. So majority of operating systems are totally focused on time sharing or multitasking. So that is all for today. I will close the class for now. So I wanted to simply sum up that I already told you cluster is any computer anywhere in the world can be combined to be formed through a common storage network, through a common this thing, and they can work. And that is a cluster. And always the computer toggles from user mode to kernel mode. Anyway, I will summarize also in the next class. That's all for today. This week, that's all. Can you hear me? Yeah. So what is the strength of your class, Nayana? Nayana?
36, sir.
36. So it's 37. So I'm assuming everybody is here, right? Yeah.
Yes,
so
sir.
I did not take a roll call. I think everybody is here. If 36 is the number. Is there anybody absent? I think I see everybody here. Can you just check if anybody is absent or somebody is connected through two devices? No, nobody is connected through two devices. Everybody, I only see a single name. Okay, so that's all for today. I will mark all of you present. I've already marked you present. So we will meet next week. Next week, I think we are meeting only on Tuesday afternoon. Tuesday, Wednesday. Wednesday, second hour, we will meet. So you please start studying. We may have a quiz on the next Wednesday, and maybe on Thursday I may plan. Thursday or Friday I will plan the quiz. Wednesday I will continue the class though. So lab will not be there on next Wednesday. Maybe the week after that we may start the lab. I have again told you folks to install the Linux. Please install some Linux or some variant, either directly or through a virtual box. Then only you will be able to do the lab exercises. Anyways, so tentatively let us plan for next Thursday to be the quiz. So till that time, Wednesday we will continue the class. Okay, bye. See you. Stay safe. Have a nice weekend. Tomorrow is a free hour. If you have any queries, I can answer.